my time to give into all of you. So when you come and give to God, God gives back to you. And he does that through the Levites and bringing messages. So if you are ready, let's start. Say with me, our God is a now God. His word is a now word. And I choose. Really say that. I choose to allow it to affect my now. Because this message really is life. It's something we can take to extend out for this next week, the week after, etc. And this is a word that I've been chewing on for a few weeks now, since Tabernacles. Because this is something that stuck with me since Tabernacles. And I was listening to my bishop and the other ministers, we were here for 8 days. And we were listening and how that God's called us to go heal the lame and heal the sick and the deaf and to raise the dead. And I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, that's impossible in the natural. It's impossible. And so this phrase came to me. I'm like, oh, God, I only you can use me to do what you want to do on this earth. So how many times have we called out, oh, God, I need you. Because I was looking at this, I'm thinking, okay, these are people with pains and aches, their own mindsets, their ideas, their experiences. And God, you want to say something different to them that blows their mind, that will just completely change what they've ever thought. Because some people have gotten used to living in that pain. Or life experiences tells them something. So how many of you have fit in that category? You've lived with something that you thought you have to live with for the rest of your life. Well, today is the day that you can call and say, oh, God, it's time to change. And Elder Christie last week, she preached the knowledge. We have to get past our own head knowledge. Because somebody told us that we have to live with this. Somebody told them they have to live with this. But what we have to realize is we need to start calling out. We need God. So today my focus is, are we calling on Him in all situations? Because that's just one situation in our life. And the more and more I've been focusing on this, there's a lot of areas in our life that we need to start calling on God. And the first thing that came to my mind, and we were talking about it at Born Again Men yesterday a little bit, is turn on the news. There is a lot of things going on in this world today. There are governments trying to take away the power of their citizens. It's not just America. This is Australia, France. They're all over the world. It's not just a local thing. It is a worldwide thing. And then there's also supply chains. How many ships do we have stuck in our ports? At least 60 is what we've been told. And, so how many products are we going to be going without of here pretty soon? I've already, with building my house, I remember not but a few months ago, I went to the lumber yard. I'm like, look, I need electrical boxes. I need wires. I need plugs, just light switches. Simple little things that are less than $1. Could not find them in our town. I even went down to our big city. That's an hour away, called Port Huron. I still could not find them. Yeah. Simple little things. Now there's a lot more, but okay, there's things going on. There's products. 2 years ago, we couldn't find toilet paper. I bought the 1 ply just so we had something, you know? My kids come back, thank God you found Charmin. So there's all kinds of situations in our life. I mean, even yesterday, my wife was asking me, okay, we see this coming. Is there something you think we might need? I don't want a natural answer. I need an answer from the throne room. I need to call out, oh God, is there something that you want me to prepare for now that will sustain me? Because if I go by the natural, there was a comment made yesterday, there's going to be a lot of preppers. Their hearts will fail them because of things that are coming on this earth. I don't need a natural answer. I need an answer from God. So, oh God, is there something? Because me being the priest of my house, I need to make sure that my family is taken care of. And not only that, He's blessed me to be a blessing to somebody else. So is there something I need that will affect somebody else? It goes way beyond me in my little house. So are we calling out to God in those situations? Just the other day, I was talking with my neighbor, and she made this comment. Well, God has a plan. I bit my tongue. I probably shouldn't have, but I bit my tongue. Because she was just saying that she doesn't have to do anything. She doesn't have to call out on God. She just thinks God's going to take care of it. So wrong. So does God have a plan? Yes. God has a plan. But for Him to implement that plan, we need to be a people that cries out, oh God. Because He hears the cries of His people. He answers. I mean, one of the scriptures was saying that, you know, as earthly fathers, if we give to our kids, how much more does our Heavenly Father give what we ask? If it's according to His plan. But the issue is, we need to know what our part is in that plan. We need to listen and obey. So how do I know this? I listened to the Sabbath this week. And in the Sabbath gave an answer to this. And during the Sabbath, it was talking about this man and this woman. They got pregnant and they were going to have a child. You know? And these two people, they were in a world that there was troubles. There was toils. Might be kind of like what's going on now for our generation. I mean, these aren't the glory days at this exact moment, you know, the very highly blessed days at this moment. There's just stuff going on in this world.
We're at war.
We're at war. And there's, you know, I believe every generation goes through it, and this is our time. And so this was, you know, these people, they were about to have this child, and that was going on in their day. There were some troubles. But now they realize, okay, we're having a son. We want to name him Noah. Noah means rest. They were believing that Noah was going to bring them rest from their troubles. They had a plan. They spoke this plan into existence. But now, with this, Noah's just a child. How long does it take for this plan to happen, to come to fruition? So, in this crying out, how long for this plan? Because if you just believe God has a plan and you're not listening and obeying and taking these steps, it's not going to happen. It's a progression. So what happened with Noah? You know, he sought after God. He found what God was saying and he obeyed it. So what has God been telling you? And write this down. If you don't have a tablet and you're not taking notes, shame on you. If you don't have an iPad or a tablet, and you're not somehow taking notes, shame on you. Write this down. How about your life? Does God have a plan for your life? How long for it to be fulfilled in your life?
Wow. How much are you plugging it up?
And I'll repeat this again. How about your life? Does God have a plan? How long for it to be fulfilled in your life? Because I heard my pastor a couple weeks ago, a good comedian will wrap up the message at the very end. And as I was reading this morning, I'm like, ooh, I must be a good comedian because I can wrap this up at the very end. It's a progression. I like listening to the other ministers. I get a lot out of it. So anyways, Noah, he now has to walk out this plan because he was called from birth. His parents put a call on his life and spoke into his life. So for my outside Christians and brothers and sisters of Christ, the instructions are simple. Come to church and hear the true gospel. Can you follow those simple instructions? Now, I looked at Reverend Ryan. He said the same instructions. Now, Chris and Danielle Watts and their family, they heard the instructions. They repeated those instructions and told Heather. Heather listened to those simple instructions, and now they love their church. Does it work? They're a testimony. You guys are a testimony. It works. Just follow the simple instructions, and now God has started implementing your plan for your life. Yeah. How long has it taken? Was it an instant thing, or was it progression? I mean, think about it, Chris, for just a moment. How many times did it take? No condemnation. I'm just so glad you're here now. And God started it. It didn't just happen overnight. You heard the instructions. You might have went back to some old ways, and then you heard the instructions. It's no big deal. The issue is you heard the instructions now, and you told somebody else. Somebody else's life is affected because of it. We're so thankful for you. And, so now what about us? That's been around for a while. I am so thankful for our leadership who's been crying out, oh God, what do I need to tell these people? What instructions do I need to give them for their life? Are we thankful for our leadership? Your actions and your responses will tell you. Elder Chris just says, if you give your teruma, that tells your leadership you're thankful. Just put that little plug in there for a moment since she touched on it. And how many years ago was the instructions? Do you love God more than something else? The instructions to us, time to get out of our sin. Time to put God as our number one and love Him more than something else. I mean, how many years ago was that? It's been a while. And then from there, God's like, okay, let's take the progression a little farther. Let's time to get out of your fleshly mountains. Called the family mountain, the religion mountain, the business mountain. And I'll mention the business because that's the mountain I was in. I mean, I'll be honest, I was in it. You got to keep going, you got to keep pushing. You can't just trust in God. You have to keep going. And, so we had to get out of those flesh mountains. It's time to get past ourselves on this. And then from there, the next progression was, because you're doing that, I want to make you a kingdom of priests. That was just last year. So if you made it past yourself and made it past these mountains, and I'll be honest, not everybody made it. There's a lot of people that's still not in this house because they didn't make it. Those in this house, there's sometimes it comes back a little bit. We need to overcome still. But because we We kept progressing. God says, now I want to make you a kingdom of priests. Oh, God. You want to what? This applies to all situations in our life. Oh, God. You want to do what with us? Okay. Let's get past me for a moment. Only you could do this with me, God. This year was the progression. I want you to join my army. Oh, God. Still, oh, God. Because if the movies portray it first, when you sign up, you go to boot camp. You're not going to the front lines. You're going to boot camp. There is training. That training is to do what? Change your mindset. Breaking average mindsets. That you'll find on the free resource tab, but first go through Born Again Matt first. Just saying. There's a lot of times we could put this in here. It's a nice progression. Got to start somewhere. So you go through boot camp. We got to change some of our mindsets. Because, I thought about this. In boot camp, there's going to be a lot of oh God moments. How many people can't do the physical at boot camp? They're crying out, oh God. And at boot camp, it's not just physical. It's mental. It's spiritual. It is a full transformation of your life. We need to cry, oh God. Because he's the only one that can make that transition in our lives. So who is this God that we get to call on? Let's make this simple. Who is this God that we get to call on? We talk about it. It's not ourselves. It's not us. Because that's going to fail. Why do we need to call on God? Because this fails. We need to call on something that's higher than this. So let's open up our Bibles to Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. And I found this because I listened to the instructions of Reverend Ryan. He says, start writing out the Torah. That was instructions for boot camp this year. If you heard that and if you got started. And so in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, this is what it says. Then God said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. What is God saying here? Our God created us in his image, in his likeness. That is our God. He wanted somebody else to be like him. So what does this mean? Image. In the Strong's, it means a resemblance. He made us to resemble him and have dominion. It also means a representative. Who is our God? He is a God that made us to be a representative of him. Likeness. It means similitude. Riley translation, similar. I had to actually say that out loud while I was preparing for this. Similitude. Make it easy. Similar. So who is our God? He made us in the resemblance and similar to him. He made us a representative of him. So he made us, that means he made our leadership. What did our leadership says? In their seeking, oh God moments, they established a mission for this house. Let the word become life in your life.
Yes.
Thank you.
Listen to that. Let. So if God said let, our leadership says let, what are we supposed to do? Let. Let it become life in your life. So I want to start off with Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. It says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. What's going on here? God created something out of nothing. Are we supposed to be a resemblance of him? He's seen problems on this earth, and he came and solved it.
Yeah.
So he's a problem solver. In verse 3, it says, then God said, let there be light. And it was good. I'm going to start quickly going through this. I'm not reading all chapter 1. Verse 6, then God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters. And it was so. Verse 9, then God said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. Verse 11, then God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb that yields seed, etc. And it was so. It says, in whose seed in itself, and God saw that it was good. Verse 14, let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and seasons, and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heavens to give light on the earth. And it was so. Verse 20, then God said, let the waters abound from the abundance of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the face of the firmament of the heavens. And it was good. Verse 24, then God said, let the earth bring forth the living creatures according to its kind. And it was good. Verse 26, then God said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. In verse 27, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female. He created them. Then God blessed them. And God said to them, be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. And it was so. Then God saw everything, verse 31, that he had made, and indeed it was good. So after all of this, what are we supposed to be doing if we're made in his image? Letting the word become life in your life. Speaking the word to those impossible situations. Not only for our life, but for the sick, the deaf, the lame, the dead. Because we're supposed to be his representative on this earth. We're made in his image. That is who our God is. But how do we do this? Cry out. We have to cry out to him. Can't do it in our own knowledge anymore. Elder Christie already said it last week. We cannot do it in our own knowledge anymore. Just because we know this, it's not good enough anymore. It's a good way to check, but it's time for it to be here. And the only way to get it here is, oh God, it's in those quiet times. And it stuck to me in Pastor Aaron's message 2 weeks ago. He brought out Matthew 4, verse 23. Because this was Jesus in his prime time. And it says, and Jesus went about all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing all kinds of sickness and all kinds of diseases among the men. He was a true representative of God at that moment.
Yeah.
But then he went to Luke 5, 12 through 16. And in here, Jesus just got done healing a leper man. You know, Jesus touched a leper, which he wasn't supposed to do, and healed him.
Right.
And, you know, he told the man, don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
But the fame went out all, you know, the guy doesn't listen, and he goes out and tells people, and the fame of Jesus spread.
Yeah.
Don't tell anybody about this too.
Yeah, so don't tell anybody about this church. So here is Jesus in his prime time. You know, he is doing what he's supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So what about us? What if we're out doing what we're supposed to be doing?
Come on. Right.
What if hundreds of people are coming through this sanctuary, getting saved, getting healed? I mean, the altar, literally the line is wrapped outside. People are so anxious to get in here. I mean, the prophecy has been told they're going to bring people here that are sick. The fame's going to spread. What if we're walking through Walmart and people start getting healed? Your fame's going to spread. So what are you going to do?
Oh, God.
Yeah, oh God is one thing. But what did Jesus do? He got all puffed up and didn't realize he had to call on God anymore. No. Verse 16. So he himself often withdrew into the wilderness and prayed. So how important is it for us to cry out, oh God, in all situations in our life? How often? Apparently Jesus thought it was important. You know, and I'll be the first one to admit, I don't cry out enough. Are you willing to say that yourself? You don't cry out enough. Because our response would tell all if you did. You know, my last two 2020s, my intentions was to be an Aaron and cry out and intercede for the people, as in Numbers 16 through verse 44. You know, Moses sent out Aaron to run through the congregation because sickness and disease and the plagues were coming on the people, on the congregation. And so Aaron had to go out and make atonement and intercede for these people. Are we doing that for somebody else? My intentions were there when I started out my week. But what I found out, something will fill your time. You will miss that opportunity. So my heart cries out now, don't miss those opportunities anymore. It is time for us to start crying out because somebody else's soul depends on it. If Reverend Ryan didn't cry out, then a Daniel and a Chris Rotz and a Heather and children would not be affected today. But the man is a living testimony of him crying out for somebody's soul. You know, we have people, I mean, Ann keeps bringing, Leona, thank you. I apologize. You know, apparently hearts cry out. Souls matter. But now, since we start crying out, now we have to take an action. And I'm going to drop the message down for a moment, if it hasn't already been down. And I want to just bring this to a life example. It's very simplistic. You know, I love living in simplicity, you know, just being simplistic. Because in our crying out moments, and we start hearing what God's saying, we need to check it. You know, called check yourself. You know, is what I'm hearing what God's saying for this time right now? So here's your shocker. I don't spend 70 hours a week studying this to bring you guys a heavy, revy message. I Had about 4 hours yesterday of putting this together, and I maybe spent 10, 20 minutes of digging down to find find the whole substance of a whole scripture yesterday. I didn't spend 70 hours on this. But if you realize I referenced Bishop, I referenced Reverend Connie, I referenced Reverend Ryan, I referenced Pastor Aaron, Elder Christie, the other ministers. So how do you know what you're hearing is accurate? Check yourself with the other ministers. Because, and then a lot of this, of knowing where we're headed, getting God's plan for the year, attend Feast of Trumpets, Feast of Tabernacles, you get your instructions for the year. It's very simple. Make plans now. It will happen sometime between September, October this next year. You have some time to make preparation now. Start storing up your family ties so you have income for then. It's a good purpose use of that finances. Some of this I got from writing my Torah. Reverend Ryan said this. But now I'm going to reference our Deacon Heath. The deacon. Yesterday at Born Again Men. So Chris, I don't know if you go to Born Again Men. I recommend going to Born Again Men. I believe it's the third Wednesday, 6 a.m. at Ida's Cafe. Check with Reverend Ryan. Here in the local house, Sandusky Diner, third Saturday of every month, 10 a.m. Every month, it's going to happen. Just mark it. You get opportunities to check yourself. You get opportunities to find out what is God saying for right now. Yesterday, Deacon Heath brought out 2 Corinthians chapter 1. And this is the part that I wanted to find out what's the real reference of this scripture. And really not quite for sure. I didn't really find the true answer because it was talking about Apostle Paul and those that was with him. They were on a trip and they hit some troubles. And something major happened where they really thought they were going to die. They were goners, into life, done. No more preaching the gospel, life was done. They hit one of those, oh God moments.
Right?
But what did they realize? They have to trust in God. They can't do it in their natural. Their own natural was not going to save them at this moment. They had to cry out. What did God do? He saved them. Why? So they can come and tell us it is worth crying out and trusting in our God. It did not just affect people 2,000 years ago. It's for today. Their crying out affected somebody 2,000 years later. So how important is it for you guys to cry out? Now, a very simplistic thing for us men. Who likes to fix everything? How many times do we check in with the Father on simplistic things? We cry out, okay, God, how would you like me to fix this? My wife asked me a question yesterday. Very simple. Our freezer's full of meat. We have a well. If the city water shuts off, I have a backup well. Maybe we should buy a water filter. Very natural things. I could have said in the natural. Okay, God, now what are you saying? I can't fix this in the natural. That stuff can fail if I don't have electricity. Freezer burns up. Meat's not going to last. Things in the natural aren't going to do it. We need an answer from God on a simple little thing. On some of the simple things. It hit me hard. Bishop made a comment yesterday at Born Again Men. Before he used to travel. And before he'd go somewhere on his route, okay, God, which route would you like me to take? That hit home. I like routine in a lot of areas of my life. I go the same route because, tomorrow morning, I know I'll get up, I'll leave Sandusky between 7 and 8. I'll hit Midland between 9:30. I'll leave Midland between 10 and 10:30. I'll hit Glendale, Kentucky between 6 and 7, maybe 8 o'clock tomorrow night. My routine is set. I've done it that much. I like this run. It's the same routine. I know the route I'm going to take because it's just routine. Do I trust God enough? Okay, God, which route do you want me to take? Because the last time I took the route, there was a road closed that I didn't know about. I could have saved 30 minutes of my day if I would have prayed.
Yeah.
Very simple.
Yeah.
Now, so we cover some of the simple, what about healing and delivering somebody? Do you have a routine that you think works? There's only one time that I know that Jesus spit, grasped from dirt, spit, and rubbed it in some man's eyes. Just one time that we know of. It was not a wild card. He pulled out every time a blind man stood in front of him. You know, yeah, I got this one. Maybe it works. And then the comment yesterday is, it didn't work. You got slugged. We need that, oh God moment. What do you want to do, God? So how many are ready to let this word become life in your life?
Yes.
So to wrap all this up, what's that? That's that very first line I had you guys write down. How about your life? Does God have a plan for you? How long for it to be fulfilled in your life? Wednesday night, an opportunity for me to come to worship my God. I didn't miss that opportunity. And at the very end of service, Bishop was saying that God gave each of you a specific word for right then. It was confirmation to me because I literally, at that moment, before he even got up here, I was typing a word in my tablet. Because for some reason, this word I've heard a million times, probably said it a million times, stood out to me like, boom, the light bulb went off. And I'm like, okay, God. Confirmation that his word was here that night. So what was this word? This word was called fulfilling. Let's break that word apart for a moment. Full means not lacking or omitting anything. It means complete. The word fill means becoming an overwhelming presence in. Those who are writing down, I'll repeat, becoming an overwhelming presence in. The letters ing is denoting a verbal action. Or Riley's translation, we are actually doing something. We are putting action to something. That's what ing means. So let's put all this together. We are actually fulfilling all that God has called us to be. We are not lacking or omitting anything. We are becoming an overwhelming presence in this city and online. We have put into action the call on this house and our individual life. We will see this to full completeness. Why is this possible? Because there is a group of people who are crying out, oh God, I can't do this in the natural. I want to get past my head knowledge. I want to have childlike faith. And I want to trust fully in you. That is how this word is becoming life in our life now. So, Father, as a whole, I stand up here and I cry out, oh God, we need you now more than anything. We do not want our flesh anymore. We want to stand in the gap for somebody else. We want to lay down our life. Lay down those family mountains, that business mountain, that religion mountain, that arts and entertainment, that sports and entertainment, those other mountains. We want to lay that down because somebody else's life is at stake. I choose from this day forward to intercede and cry out, oh God, for somebody else. I do not want something filling my time that is not of you.
That's right.
We want you completeness. We want the call that's been placed on this house to come to completeness because somebody else's life is at stake. So today, Father, we answer that call. Those online, put on there, you answer that call for your life today. It is a progression. Noah was called at birth. We have been called.
Yeah.
If there's any doubt in your mind, you have been called now.
Yes.
Now.
Yes.
Any thought that you're no good has been erased. I speak to that thought. You have to flee because that person is called now.
Yes.
You have a plan and a purpose. And if you take the steps, God says, I will fulfill that call. I will bring that to completeness. There will be no lost time. He will bring you up to speed now. Reverend Connie already said, we may be dragged behind, but we will be caught up now. So answer that call now. Those in the house, the altar is open. If you're saying yes, no more do I want myself to be in the way. Give another shout out. I want that knowledge gone. I want to be able to cry out often. Often I cry out to you, oh God. Oh. Thank you. That is who our God is. He answers those calls and those cries out. Oh, so we just give you praise. The song I was driving to Born Again Men yesterday was, you are an awesome God. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns above heaven and earth. He reigns above our lives. Oh, you made us in your resemblance. You made us to be your representatives on this earth. So, Father, we say yes to letting your word go forth, letting healing and deliverance and raising the dead come through our hands. We say yes.